Now, I'm not anywhere. I haven't reached anywhere. I haven't arrived anyplace. I'm not claiming anything here. Believe me. I'm walking the path. I'm a student. So people ask me, are you a Sufi? No, I'm an initiate in the Sufi order. That's really what I am. I'm not a Sufi, because to say you're a Sufi means to say you're an illuminated being, basically. And I'm not making that claim. Although I'm kind of bright, Walking the path. I'm a student. And in fact, that's the secret of aging, by the way. You want to know the secret of aging? Remain a student. Amen. If you remain a student, you never get old. Never, no matter how old you are. You never get old, because you're always in learning mode. You're always acquiring and learning and growing and developing. And that's the secret of aging as far as I'm concerned. Okay, where are we? Oh, wanted to say, poetry for me is much more meaningful than my words, okay? The poets can say in a few words what takes me 100. We're going to read poetry to express some of the things I believe and understand about love. Okay, we're going to read some love poetry, all right? Mystical love poetry throughout. We're going to do some exercise, we're going to do some sharing, and I'm going to do this as I feel the time to do it, okay? I want you to feel free to raise your hand and ask any question you wish. Interrupt me, it's okay. I don't want you to forget the question, because what happens is if you hold the question, you don't answer, you don't ask it, it gets forgotten. So no. Raise your hand. Don't worry about interrupting me. I'll get back, or you'll help me get back to where I was. That's okay. The book. I was the executive director for the Stein Institute for Research on Aging for 7 years. How fortunate. I lived in La Jolla, and I used to look at the university. I lived a mile from the university and say, oh, I would love to work at the university, And sure enough, I worked at the university. It was like a miracle, really a miracle. And as the executive, I don't know why they hired me. I think it was because I was older. I was 60 when they hired me. I think it was because I was older that they hired me. Whatever. So age is good. You get, they have deals for older people. You get on buses cheaper. It's good getting old. Getting old is great. Everybody should do it.
No, not getting old, getting older.
Well, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Well, I don't mind. As far as age is concerned, I wrote an article, and if you'll buy my book, you'll read it. I talk about the invisible part of me. There's a part of me that never ages, part of you that never ages. It's called your soul, your spirit, whatever you want to call it. That never ages. And the more you get into spirit, the more you're not. What's age? You're in. You never die. The spirit never dies. Never been born and never died. So you don't have to worry about that. Just get involved in spirit, and let spirit shine. And because, as I said to Margot, walk away from the mirror. How old are you? How old are you when you walk away from that mirror? What? Who knows? Yeah, you're young, you're a kid. Everything is there. You don't lose it. The child is still there within you. So you're ageless. So I think we're all ageless, really. And I don't put a big to-do about getting older. And I don't treat older people any differently than I treat anybody else. They're just people. And it's just one, long lifespan, hopefully. And they're no different, there's certain challenges of aging that are different than other challenges, but it's the same. We all have challenges. When aren't we challenged by life? We're challenged as soon as we're born, to find that breast, we're challenged right away. So the challenges just continue throughout life. And so when I left, retired from UCSD, and I developed this business that I've always wanted to do, my own thing, kind of. So it really gave me an opportunity when I retired to move on and to spread this message. And I think it's an important message, and this is my life's work right now, to do this as much as I can to inspire people to walk this walk in whatever way they can. Not to be a Sufi, forget about that, but to walk the walk. It's universal. This is not owned by Sufism. Love is not owned by anybody, for God is love. And if God is love, it's for everyone. My teacher, his name is Hazrat Khan. He died a long time ago, but he is my teacher. He's the one that brought Sufism to the West and made it universal, took it out of Islam. It was not it did not belong in Islam. You know what I mean? It was before Islam. My teacher says Sufism always has been, always will be. It was, they call them the seekers of the truth. For a Sufi, the most important thing is the truth. Yeah? Beyond everything. That's why they don't have any principles. They don't say you should do this when that happens and this, and even nonviolence. They don't have any principles because the situation demands the action. And you may have to slap your child, right, to teach him something. And that's love too. So love comes in a variety of ways. When God gives you a smack, and he does that, right, or she does that, it's out of love. So the smacks that we get are also love taps. Hopefully we don't get hurt too hard, by the smacks, but some of us need it. The Sufi does not have any principles. It searches for one thing only, and that is the truth. And it's done through the path of love. What is it? What is it? Now, poets and philosophers and all types have written about love. I'll read you a poem. In fact, let's look at Rumi, Fragments, Ecstasies, if you can get that out. Now, Rumi, Jalaluddin Rumi, is a 13th century mystic, Sufi, who is now the most read poet in America today. Now, you tell me if that is not weird. He was a mystic. He was a Muslim, but a Sufi. He became a Sufi mystic and would write a poetry. He would extemporaneously recite poems, and his followers would take him down. He would twirl. He's the one of the whirling dervishes. I don't know if you've heard of them in Turkey and Konya. You can still go to Konya and they'll whirl. There's orders here. They're called the Mevlevi order. Sufis are really interesting. They break up into different orders, like Protestantism. You know what I mean? They break up into a murshid. A wise being comes along and he goes his way, and he's allowed to do that, and he developed another order. So there's like a lot of Sufi orders around, and they're slightly different in their flavor. But this is the Mevlevi, and they would whirl in ecstasy, and you could still watch them whirl. It's a spiritual practice, but he was an incredible being, and most widely read poet in America today, an Islamic Sufi mystic. Now that's interesting, isn't it? The moon offers light without a hand. The sun is proof of the sun. Writing about love, my pen splinters. Expounding love, the ass of intellect lays down in the mire, lays down in the mud, right? The ass of intellect. He's not much for intellect, right? The ass of intellect. Huh? When he comes, he, capitalized, what does he think he's talking about? When he comes, not one hair of me remains. The shadow loves the sun, but when the sun comes, it vanishes. There is no dervish in all the world, and if there is a dervish, he doesn't exist. This is mystical poetry. What he's talking about is love, God. God as love. When he comes, when love comes, everything else goes. I don't exist anymore when he comes. He's a dervish, right? I'm not a dervish. I'm no one. I don't exist. That is the epitome of mysticism, to lose oneself in the divine. That's the goal of the mystic, to forget himself, to lose himself. Because for the mystic and for the Sufi, there's only one being. That's God, one being. So all of us contain that one being, right? So you want to look for God? Look around. Look around. That's the Sufi. And that's the highest initiation, the highest realization for the Sufi. This path is not for everyone. This path is the hard path. The path of love demands everything. But we're walking it. You don't have to be here. You can be here to walk it. I'm walking it. I don't know where I am, but I'm walking it. I'm not there. We all walk it, and we're all walking it, whether we like to or not, because life is a love journey. Life, to me, Don, my good dear friend, talks about life as a spiritual journey. Now, I have no problem with that. I define it a little bit more closely. It's a journey of love. It's a journey of love. And to find and seek and understand what that means is what this is all about today. What's love? Tina Turner. It's just a secondhand emotion, right? Just a secondhand emotion. It's passion, yeah. Attraction or affinity, yeah. A set of attitudes and actions. We're going to talk a lot about that. It's a set of attitudes and actions. A loving, loving. So that relates to a set of behaviors, right? And thoughts and beliefs and so on. The source of happiness and wisdom, that's my belief. If love is the source of happiness. If you want happiness, if you want to seek happiness, you can only find it in love. I don't know, you can find pleasure all over the place at the movies and popcorn or steak or whatever, but if you want real happiness that's yours, it can only be found in your heart, in love. And that's my contention. Not my contention, the contention of a whole bunch of philosophers and mystics and so on. The creative force. It is the thing that it is creative. Love is creative of beauty. And from beauty derives happiness, derives harmony. Love is the creative force. Think of it. Think of it at this level. Think of mom and dad getting together, making love. And what happened out of that love? You came. So it is the creative force. But it's the creative force of the universe. The creative force of the whole universe is love. God so loved his, the Bible's full of things about why this is. He created it out of what? Out of his love. Out of his love. So all of this creativity, and that's what the poets, the philosophers, and the artists, where does their creativity come from? It comes from their loving heart. So and the Sufis call it, ishq, which is sometimes translated as energy, but really is love. It's more than just energy, because it's energy with intelligence. It's energy with intelligence. And that's a whole different ball of wax. It's not just, this blind energy. It's energy with intelligence. Every molecule in your body, every cell, is there from love. Has affinity inside, built in, has affinity and connectivity involved in it. Think of the atoms. How did this get created? Because things are attracted to one another. The molecules are attracted to one another. The cells that get attracted to one another, they build bigger cells and bigger organisms. It's this sense of attraction and affinity that creates it all. And this God as love is throughout the literature, it talks about that. God as love. But it's more. There's so many things and like I said, it's writing about love, my pen splinters. It's the mystery. It is a mystery. Unfathomable, really, by anyone. So when I'm talking about love and, mom and dad making love and creating you, and the love how you create your child through love. Your child is created through your love, right? You call it teaching, you call it development, whatever it is, socialization, but it's a loving thing you're creating out of love. Why is it important? I have a phrase here, the healing power and the remedy of all pain. That's a pretty heavy statement. The healing power and the remedy for all pain. Love. That's not too important. Very important. It is. Think of a universe. Think of a life without love. It would have no meaning for existence. It would be dreadful. In fact, we're living in dreadful times because of a lack of love. A lack of understanding, a lack of tolerance, and so on. Those are all droplets from the sea of love. Sympathy, compassion, caring, kindness, sincerity, perseverance, patience. Those are all droplets, what I call, from the sea of love. And that's what we're lacking. Tolerance for each other, understanding, kindness, going the other mile, Why is it important? Without it, life has no meaning. Without passion, even, without emotion, what is life? It's like watching a black and white movie without the color. There's poems that I have written, poems by J. Adam Milgram. Why don't you turn to that and read a couple of these? Do I love her? My God, what a question. To answer yes when not felt puts the lie to my throat. To answer no when all so much has gone before, again puts the lie to my throat. Of course I love her, even when no feeling dwells that pronounces the word so clear. But oh, so much do I wish to feel the feeling of passion deep, with no fear and with joy enfolding, deep down in my guts with tears. Oh, do I want to feel my love this night, this horrid, humid, tawdry night, with no sleep to ease the pain. If I only had my love this night to defend against the myriad of fears, inadequacy, stupidity, timidity, sickness, despair. Oh, despair, when all hope vanishes and she's not there. So lonely in this living house, so lonely in this crowded world, so lonely when I need my love for her to be there. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a lot of lonely people around. A lot of lonely people, desperate. I really feel terrible about our older people shut up in some of these warehouses that we have, and without being able to be touched and held and caressed and loved. It's alone. I have friends too, men friends, a lot. They're not married. They're searching desperately. I mean, their lives are great. They have this and they have that, but they're missing that love. And they're missing that love. Their life is really not good. Not good. Constantly searching for someone to love them and be loved. And you choose the path of love. You may not feel the love, but that's that choice. So you say to yourself when you're approaching a situation, I want to be a loving being. You know, that's like you give yourself your marching orders, whatever that means to you at your level of evolution, you know. You bring that to the situation. You may not bring your passion, but you bring that, your willingness. And that's powerful. Extremely powerful, more powerful than the emotion, but you can't hold on to that emotion. And if we if we just needed to love our husbands or love our brothers and sisters and have that feeling all the time, forget it. We never love them, right? I mean, we love them sometimes, very rarely. Development of conscience, but consciousness. And I'll talk about the mystical aspects of the love path, of the path of heart. That's why I call it the path of heart, because it's not just love in terms of the touchy-feely, niceness, and everybody's nice to each other, da-da-da-da. No. It's also consciousness. It's also the depth of the mind. So the heart is not just the element, the love element, the arms reaching out, the caring, the concern, and all that. It's also the intellect. It's wisdom. It's insight, intuition, revelation, guidance. So that's why it's so much more than just, romantic love. So much more. It's the depth of the mind. This is the brain. This thinks. All right? This thinks. It's an organ, and it'll think and think and think. Good, bad, indifferent stuff. All right? That's not what you want to listen to. Reason is fine, but it needs to come secondary to the heart, what the heart says. If you follow reason, you could be a Hitler or an Einstein, but you could be a Hitler. If you follow reason, he was very reasonable in his assumptions and everything. Reason is tied to heaven on one end and hell on the other. So you don't want to follow reason, you want to follow your heart and then use reason to explain to people why you're going the way you're going. Because human beings need reason. Why are you doing that? Well, they want a reason. They're not content to say that that's what I need to do. You got to give reasons, otherwise people, because we have this intellect, we think this is God. So we think the mind is God. Nah, it's not. Now, there's 4 aspects. And, there's all kinds of ways of looking at this and deriving this, and everybody has written differently about this, okay? So this is a model. It is not the model. It is a model of explaining the whole love paradigm. The first is what I call the active aspect of love. To me, it's related to the arms, the hands reaching outward. It's all of these, and I call these the droplets from the stream of love. There's love is the big ocean, is that big stream, all right? And it falls in droplets, and these droplets are Respect. Respect is number one. That's one of the highest forms of that kind of love. Respect. You know? Respecting others. Rodney Dangerfield did a whole thing with respect, you know? Ain't get no respect. That's a big thing. It's a big thing. And people die from lack of respect. Literally. Because it's a form of love. One of the highest. Just to respect you for who you are. Big thing. And we don't do it very much. In loving your child, in loving your student, in loving your husband, in loving the people that you work with, what you do to them is give them confidence and value. Oh, he loves me. That means I may be okay. I may be worthy. When you're not loved, you don't feel worthy. That's why it's so important to express our love to our friends. We, as humans, we need to know about it. We need to hear it. You know what I mean? Even if it's coming all the time, but we need to hear it. We need to know it. We need to see it, feel it, know that it's coming. It gets abused, of course, too, but that is how we gain value. That is how we gain trust in the universe, is by being loved. And it's done through, of course, our parents. That's the main job of our parents, is to love our children. What else is there, right? Love them, that's it. Whatever else comes along, comes along. But if love is at the base of it, it's going to be good. Whatever the behavior will come from that love, don't worry about the behavior, whether it's slapping them or kicking them or demanding things from them. If it's coming from that space, good. And they will learn to feel value in themselves. And in that feeling of value, they'll discover the good stuff in there. Because it's covered. We have it's like mud. It's like you want to search for water, you got to dig in the mud, right? You got to dig in the mud. Sometimes you got to dig far, but it's water, it's underneath the mud. So underneath all the stuff that we put on top of us, the neurosis, the craziness, the inadequacy, the timidity, the fear, a lot of fear in our society, there is good stuff. There's love, there's courage, there's strength, there's perseverance, there's all that other stuff. So that's when it happened when I went to that retreat. All of a sudden, well, I didn't tell you all of it, of course, but what I did, what I did when I got there, they had they said, give yourself a name. Put some, names of your problems and of whatever you want to put on you. And I wrote down all the negative things that I felt about myself. Inadequate, stupid, crazy, fearful, and I pasted them all over my body. I was nuts. I was desperate. I was desperate. I was reaching the point of no return. Because I'd done all this stuff and what I'm supposed to do, and I was still miserable, you know what I mean? And it was like, I'm desperate. So I would let it all hang out. And what happened, it all fell off. Because I looked at it and I showed it to everybody and walked around with all these, ugly things on me. And when they came off, what was there was all this beauty, all this love, all this strength, all this energy. It was just there. I didn't have to create it. We don't have to discover who we are. We don't have to create who we are. We discover who we really are. That's just it. It's a discovery. We create ourselves as nurses, as doctors. We do creating. I'm not saying we don't create. But who we really are is not created. It is there for our discovery. But what we do is we pile on top of it stuff. Myriad of stuff. You gotta knock with a chisel. You gotta beat it up. You gotta gut through it to get to the good stuff. Like digging for oil. You gotta dig in that dirt to get to the oil. Same thing with water. And what happens is people get tired of digging. They find dirt and they find dirt and they find dirt, and they don't keep on persevering because eventually you'll hit water. It may take some time. It may take some time. That's that. That's that reaching out. That's all those virtues that we so desire, that we hold up here. All these things we hold high. When we speak of love, we look at, what is these things? We look at tolerance, patience. Patience is a love, by the way. That's why it's so difficult, patience. You've got to love the situation. You got to say, okay, I'm waiting in line for 3 hours, at the airport or whatever, or I'm waiting for our luggage, and Don and I, we had such a ridiculous time. I lost my luggage, they lost it, and we waited. It was not there. We were there at the airport till like 11:30, 12 o'clock, and it was okay. It was fine. In fact, the more patient you are, the more things tend to resolve, which is really fascinating. If you can practice patience, you're like, I was funny because I walked. There was another line. They had my name on the ticket wrong. So they wouldn't let me in security. It's like, it's me. No. You have to wait in line. And there's the line. It's like, blocks long. Okay. So I walk in the line, and I'm starting to get, like, impatient, right? And then I said, oh. And the next moment, I was up that front. I couldn't believe it. What happened? What happened? And I don't know how that happened, but just all of a sudden the line got very short, and So and it was great. It was great. I love. That's the power. That's the power of love. The subspecies, the sub-element of this aspect is the healing aspect. It's love that heals. It is love that heals. Our doctors are beginning to finally realize that it's love that heals. With all their technology, with all their instruments, without love, there's something severely lacking. You know it. You see doctors who are, just don't, And I'm not saying there's some wonderful doctors, and there's a movement ongoing now that bringing love back into, making the doctor back into a healer. That's what we're doing. We took the healer out of the doctor because it was like, ooh, it was mystical. We had to be hard-cased scientists, right? They're bringing love back in. Bernie Siegel and others who are MDs who are bringing love, big time. And it works big time. Why? Because if it doesn't, it heals. It doesn't cure, right? It heals. And when we talk about healing, we're talking about the soul and the spirit and our hearts. Not just our bodies. So our bodies may deteriorate, but our minds may be healed. Our spirit can be healed. So that we may have cancer and it's terminal, we can still feel healed and ready for the next great adventure. So it's love that heals. Love that brings solace. Love brings comfort. Brings, peace of mind to our patients. And without that, it's a piece of our armamentarium that is missing. It's missing. And it's not that all that other stuff and the pills and the techniques are not, I'm not saying throw them out. No, they're part of love too. They're solid pieces of love, our pills and our technology. They're also crystallized forms of the love. Of course, they are. So they should be used. But it's also this love that comes from our hearts. This respect for our patients. Respect for our clients. We're not better than them. We're fortunate to be serving them. We should thank God that we are able to serve them, right? They are our teachers. Really. And we don't have that attitude, though. We come in as the big mahafs, and we're going to cure you, and we're going to do for you, and we're going to tell you how to live, and what you should do, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's how we come in as professionals. Because why? Because they don't teach love in professional school. The mother holding the child in its arms and singing a song is the most healing thing that can happen to the child. Through the very sense of just, the love. Knowing aspect. This is vital. This is vital. We don't realize this. We think this is where it's at. This is an organ. This is an organ. The mystics throughout the ages have known that this is the true heart, the true guidance, the true inspiration. Where do you go for inspiration? Read any book. Here. Where do you go for knowledge? Here. Where do you go for guidance of what to do? Not here. This will give you the reasons for the choice. You need the reasoning ability. It's great. It's wonderful. Thank goodness for it. But it's here that tells you what to do and where to go and how to do it. Right here. The more you love, look, the only time things are revealed to you is when you love it. You want someone to share with you. You want someone to be real with you. When you talk to your clients or your patients or whatever, the more you love them, the more they feel secure, the more they feel safe, the more they will reveal themselves to you. It's love that opens doors, they say. That opens the doors of others' hearts that they will share with you. Why? Because they feel they're loved. They're safe. You don't have to tell them, I love you. They feel it by your presence, by your loving. They feel comfortable. That's a good therapist. He listens and really is respectful of their client. The client will tell them anything, everything. Why? Because they feel secure in the love. And most therapists are lovers. Yeah, you think they do this for the money? No. They do it because they're lovers. And this is the way they can love and show their love. Most of them, not everyone, but all of them, I'm sure, have that need of that desire to love. And that's why you feel, I go to a therapist's couch, I know, because they're loving. You have to pay someone to love you, right? But that's modern America, right? Most of us need a good friend rather than a therapist. But, okay, so we institutionalized loving. Rogers did it on Becoming a Person, one of the first books I wrote about psychotherapy, on Becoming a Person. What a great title. What a great title. Becoming a person, a real person. And how do you do it? Unconditional regard, right? That was his term. Unconditional regard. What was he talking about? Love. Unconditional regard. Yeah, right. He couldn't use love probably because, it was too mystical, too problematic, too off the wall, right? Unconditional regard. Insight, intuition, inspiration, guidance. Guidance. We go to people and listen. We have all the guidance we need right here. The mystics use meditation and purifying the heart and stilling the heart to gain guidance. They go here. We go to libraries. We go to gurus. We go to whatever. They go inside. They go to here. This is where the guidance is, right here. This is where revelation, inspiration. One of the things I discovered in that great trip of awakening was I don't have to go anywhere. It's here. And that was the most shocking revelation. And I realized I'm out there searching for this, searching for that, and all it is, it's right here in me. Little me has all this stuff. How incredible. It blew me away. It blew me away. To think about it now blows me away. Think about all of the things that I so much revere in life. Strength and endurance and mastery and intelligence, whatever. It's here. It's here. It's not in any book. Books point the way. They're helpful. They're wonderful. We're talking about books. books. You buy more books. They're great. The greatest book in the world is right here. In yourself. The seers, the great seers are lovers. The more you become a lover, the more you see deeply into life, because all life is revealing. Not just humans. They used to say the mystics talk to trees. They could talk to trees. They could talk to birds. Not in the language of, English or whatever, but they talk through the heart. Everything bows to the lover. And you think of Christ as the epitome of love. He was my first teacher, by the way, right? In that experience. And that's why, to tell you a story, after I had this experience, Christ, and I had no problem accepting it. I loved him. You read his stuff. How can you not love this man? How can you not love and revel in the beauty of what he's saying? It's like, and forget about if it's true or not true. Just the beauty of the words and what he says. Oh my goodness, it's like, what a world that would be if we could be like that being. And he was a revolutionary, right? Well, anyway, I got pictures of him. Beautiful. I didn't get the cross stuff. I think that crucifixion to me, is a crucifixion of the false self. That's what got crucified, not Christ. The false self. Whatever the body, the burn, whatever got burned was all the falseness, all his, whatever. The true spirit of Christ never. It lived, and still lives. still lives amongst us, obviously. The greatest rebel the world has ever known. Greatest a revolutionary, and still revolutionary today. Anyway, so I got all these pictures of him, and beautiful pictures. There's some lovely, beautiful pictures of Christ. I mean, and they depict him beautifully, of course. Why not? And I would have them. I was living in this community. I had all over the wall. I had pictures of Christ and pictures of other gurus too. I have a lot of teachers. I need it. I have a lot of teachers. I had a lot to learn. And he was one, and he was, and I just loved having that. And my mother came up one day and visited my room, and she's like, "What are you doing with all these pictures of Christ?" She can understand Buddha and, Zoroaster, whatever I had else, but Christ? And she didn't say anything much. She just shook her head and walked down the stairs. I have no problem, no paradox. There's no paradox to me at all. It's just obvious. This is a power aspect of love. And what do I mean by that? Well, these are some of the aspects of power. Belief is a power. You may not realize it, but it's a power. What you believe coats your entire world. So in fact, belief creates your world. What you believe in is true. Whether it's true or not in whatever other reality, but for you it's true. So your belief creates your world and creates your environment. And belief is a part of love. Faith, if there's anything that's love, it's faith. Because you've got, faith is it is the power of love. The faith that can do, that is, when you have faith, as someone said to me, you have everything. If you have faith in life, faith in yourself, what more would you want? I mean, and that's the depth, that's love. You have to feel comfortable and secure in the fact that you are loved and that you are loving to have faith. And so faith is an aspect of love. We don't see it that way, but that it is. And faith can move mountains, as love can move mountains. What other power would you want if you had faith? A story from my teacher. He would go to his teacher for what they call in Sufism darshan, which was like transmission. They would sit in front of each other and they'd talk about trivial stuff, not necessarily deep spiritual things, but what would happen was their hearts were attuned to each other. This is the Eastern method of learning. And the lesson would be sent through the ether waves. They call it transmission. And at the ending of each of these darshans, of each of these meetings with his teacher, the teacher would say, "May your faith increase." And, my teacher would say, "What the heck is that?" He'd be like, "What the heck is that, faith increase?" And only later did he learn that how vital, how real, how meaningful that was, that his faith should increase. And it did, obviously. So his teacher was giving him something, a blessing, and he didn't know it. But it's also related to will. If there's any power in life, it's will, and will is directly related to love. Will and love are really synonymous. I know we separate them. We do these things. Will is a form of love. And our will is what creates us. Our desire, our want, our desire, our will moves us through school, moves us through, through marriage, moves us through all kinds of obstacles. Our will and willpower is a power unto itself. Mastery, perseverance. These things don't seem to be important. Endurance. If you can endure, like, Bob was talking to me about, people giving up. They try, they do this, they try to learn, or they try, and they're maybe in despair, and they try, and then they give up. And endurance makes one strong. To endure. And a lot of life is that. Because we can't do something about some things. We just have to endure it, Patience, strength, patience. A story about patience, I was at a retreat. No, I was at a seminar with a guy by the name of Bilal, Imam Bilal, his name was. He's a Sufi from somewhere, I don't know where. And he did a thing. And he was incredible being. It's just an incredible being. Just being in his presence was just wonderful. There's some people, you just, in their presence, their atmosphere just speaks. I don't know what it is. It's amazing. And he had this beautiful presence. And someone said, well, what about patience? Can you teach us about patience? And he goes like this. He looks and he says, are you kidding me? I don't teach patience. It's too hard. Too difficult. You got to be really advanced to learn about patience. And isn't it true? Patience is so difficult. We want things when we want it, now, immediately. And to be patient is difficult. But patience solves so many problems. And if we spoke up and if we intervene and if we, blah, 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 we mess things up. We need to be patient. And life teaches us a lot about patience if we wish to learn it. Just go to any supermarket or go to Fly. Fly a lot. You'll have to, it's a great teacher of patience. You want to learn patience? Tell people to go ahead and fly some more. Fly a lot. You'll learn patience or you'll be miserable. Either one. So there's this power aspect, the power of love. The last one, unifying. It's a unifying aspect. Brings people together. It coalesces, right? Remember I talked about the molecules, and those attracted to one another? Love brings people together. It unifies. It unifies nations. It unifies families. It unifies nations. It unifies people, organizations, countries, world. The whole world can be unified through the power of love. It is a unifying principle. What brings people together? Our acceptance, our tolerance, our admiration, our respect. It brings people together. And at the end of the path of the lover is unity. And when I talk about unity for the Sufi, it's unity with what? God. It's unity with the king of love. That's what the unifying aspect does. So you walk the path, the Sufi walks the path of heart as an end, as a means to an end. And the end is divine, the divine. Knowledge of the divine, friendship with the divine, unity with the divine, understanding of the divine. Being, as they say in Sufism, akhlaq Allah, a friend of God. Being a friend of God. I love that statement. It's so beautiful. You can imagine, I want to be a friend of God. What hubris. I want to be a friend of God. We all are friends of God. Because as givers, as caretakers, as people helping, what are you doing? You're doing God's work. I mean that literally. You're doing God's work. That's what you're doing. So you are being a friend of God, and that's what you want to continue. And a friend of God knows God. That's the difference. But the Sufi wants to know and understand God. It's like a friend. You want to love them, and what does your love do? It wants to know. It wants to understand, right? It wants to understand your friend, to know your friend, who they are, what their needs are, what their likes are, and so on. So as a friend of God, that's what you want. So you can what? Do his work. Do his work. Akhlaq Allah. But some call it, God realization. It's the evolution. So I'm very selfish. Sufis are selfish. Wisely selfish. That's the difference. We're all selfish. You want to be wisely selfish. I'm selfish because I want that. I want unity with the divine. I want nirvana, illumination, self-realization. I want that. That's, hey, I'm not going to, and I think we all want it. Whatever these mean. I mean, they mean different things to you, but really it's oneness. It's oneness with the divine. It's embracing that. It's becoming that. It's losing whatever the false stuff that we think we are, all that dross, all that stuff to unite with the Father, the Mother, whatever you wish to call it. To be that. And it's really interesting because with the Sufi is so weird. Talking a lot about Sufism, and I'm going to do this. Even though it's so esoteric, I'm going to do this. But no matter how much work you do, at the end of the road, it's grace that gets you there. You can't really do it yourself. No matter how much you try, and you've got to try. You've got to make the effort. You can't just say, it's going to come. You've got to really make the effort. But all your efforts are really in vain. Really, in a way. And it's the grace of God that brings us to him or her or that mystery or that unity. It's really grace. So no matter how much we struggle and work, realize that we can only go so far on that path, and the rest of it is God's grace, which is a mystery unto itself. and which is another talk at another time. So when I'm talking about love, how big it is, how big the path of heart is, not just, romantic love or passion, it's much more than that. It's much greater, although it comes down to that level too. That doesn't exclude that level. It includes all those levels. And we're all evolving through that. We're all walking this path. No matter consciously or unconsciously, we're walking that. And I'll show you how and why we're walking that. But these are the 4 levels. The evolution of love. Okay. Evolution of love. Love evolves. You're not there. When you look at a child, a young child, they're selfish. Everything, they want everything. They put everything in their mouth, everything. They don't have differentiate between them and other people. Everything is them, Suck their thumbs, They're selfish, self-centered. That's okay. There's at the universal level. We talk about it a little bit. Attraction, affinity, the motive to connect at the molecular level and working through and with evolution, creating ever more complex levels of integration. That's what's happening in the world. We're evolving. And what are we evolving? We get more complex, more organized, more variable, more integrated, more organized, and that's what's happening with the world. And it's all through love. It's that basic affinity at the molecular level, all the way up through romantic love, love of nation, love of, mankind, humankind. It's the same need that's built into the very nature of matter and of being, this love, this ishq. It is the basic energy. It's that connectiveness, that affinity toward one another. It's what brings people together. It's what brings groups together. It brings nations together. It's affinity. There's this naturalness. You see, some of the greatest learnings come from what? People just talking to one another, right? At these seminars. I can do what I can do. But the real great stuff happens when, Bob talks to Donna or whatever, when it's at that level. People connecting, listening, talking to one another. It's such a need. So it happens at every level of being. And that's evolving and becoming more concrete. At the individual level, right, we can talk about it too. One evolves from selfishness to selflessness, from self-centeredness to concern for others, from passion to devotion. I'm not excluding passion is always there, but you also have devotion, beneficence, renunciation. Those are higher forms, supposedly, or different forms of the love element. From a child, right, to a mature adult. And from reciprocity, the give and take, to beneficence, just giving for the sake of giving. No other reward but loving. The loving itself is reward. It's like goodness is good for its own sake. I almost wrote an article, goodness is good for you. It is. It is. Goodness is good for you. Makes you feel good. Doing good makes you feel good. It's that giving you receive, you know what I mean? It's that whole Francis of Assisi kind of poem that he said about it. It's giving that we receive. It's loving that we're loved. So when you do good, you feel good. It comes back. You get much more out of it than actually the good that you do. And the same with love. Now what happens? He's a child, everything is him. He does not care about anyone else. And then they realize, very soon that if I smile at Mom, she may smile back. She'll smile back to me. When I smile, she likes it. And because she's such an important aspect of my being, and they don't think this way, but they know it, that smiling helps get me what I want, So they smile, and they do all kinds of funny mixed sounds and tricks to show that they're there and they're appreciative. Right? They act and they do. Kids make all kinds of weird sounds. And you're like, where did that come from? They're trying to, love you, to give back to you. Because they know that they get. And as a child grows, he begins to play with kids. He learns quickly that if he takes all the toys for himself, he ain't going to have many friends. He's got to share his toys, right? Otherwise, the guy's going to walk out. So he learns to begin to realize the other. Not child. He's important, but the other becomes important. And then, as you go through school, you learn this ever more. And there's all this give and take, and you learn about reciprocation. And it's a little business-like. He gives, and it's that kind of love. You don't get it, you don't give it kind of thing, you know what I mean? And you learn that, but that's okay. That's evolving. And then what happens? You fall in love. You have a crush. You're 15, 13, whatever, it depends. All of a sudden, that person's more important than you a little bit. I mean, it's like he's very important. So you want to be nice to them and kind to them and caring for them because they become more important. So it's thou becomes even stronger. And then comes marriage. And marriage demands sacrifice. Demands it. And people argue with me about this, but I say if you can't sacrifice in marriage, you ain't going to have a marriage. Forget it. Because you got thorns. You got all kinds of thorns sticking out from you. You know what I mean? Or whatever. She don't like that. Well, she don't like that, then I got to stop it. It doesn't matter if it's good or right or wrong or bad. She doesn't like it. And that's important for me because what she likes or don't like is important to me. Why? Well, first of all, she's vital to me, right? Or he's vital to me. And they begin to learn sacrifice. So you learn to give more. You learn to sacrifice. And marriage is the greatest teacher of love. That's why marriage has many, many forms, many realities to it, many reasons for its existence. But one of the main reasons for me is to learn how to love. My wife is my great teacher. She is Mahatma Mama, my in-house guru. I'm lucky. We all have that. Your spouse is your teacher, and not your teacher, get somebody else. And I've learned so much. I've fought with her, and I'm not going to do that. No, you're crazy. But, little by little, year after year, since I've endured through the relationship, I have learned that she's right 99.9% of the time. She is wrong occasionally. I catch her and I point it out to her, but, well, it's dreadful to be wrong all the time, so anyway. And marriage is a spiritual act. That's why it's so difficult. Love is spiritual. Love is spiritual. You see, unconditional love gives you the reality of how powerful love can be. It can stand on its own feet. See, before, you got to get it from the other, to continue. Even with marriage, if they don't love you back, it's hard, But with children, they can beat you up and pee on you or whatever else they do. Kids can do all kinds of crazy things, right? We still love them. The mother who has a son who killed someone, who's going to die and in jail, still loves her son. We say, oh, this horrible person. And to the mother, not a horrible person. May have done bad things. Doesn't matter to the mother or father, right? They still love them, and rightly so. And that's what I felt with my son, and it was like, wow. I don't know what happened before. I was with him 8 years. I was too busy, too dizzy to experience it. You got to be quiet a little bit to feel things. You get too busy up here and dizzy, and I was working 3 jobs, and I didn't have time for him. And that was my error. Yeah, I was running. I was desperate. I was running. For those 8 years, I was running to try to find my own happiness. That's selfish. That's selfish. But there it was, and it just blew me away. Never thought I experienced it, and that's the evolution of love. All of a sudden, it's unconditional. It doesn't matter. Love stands on its own feet, and that's the power of love. It does not depend upon the response of the beloved. So if God punches you, your love needs to be strong enough to say, I'm going to still love you, God. Right? I'm going to still love you. Your kid takes advantage of you as they do and does terrible things. It don't matter. I'm going to still love you. I'll still love you. That's the power of love. It can stand on its own feet. And that's when love becomes really strong. When it's not dependent upon the response. So your patient doesn't like you. It doesn't matter. You see? I can still love them, even though, that's what I want to talk to the CV, the people that work with people, because lots of times older people can be cantankerous and nasty. Well, we all are, at times, and they can say terrible things and be terrible. but we can still teach people, well, you can still love them. Really, you can still love them because at heart they're okay. They're divine. They're part of the, of the divine reality, whatever you wish to take it. I love is strong enough that I could still love you even though you aren't nice to me. And then love stands on its own feet, becomes very, very strong. And that's when love really begins to flower. It begins to flower in deeds of beneficence. Reciprocation is all right, but that's a business. You see, there's a business aspect. You give me and I give you, which is okay. It's fair. That's the business model. You scratch my back, I scratch your back, right? Yeah. But then love gets to a higher level, a different level, a more complete level, where it just gives for the sake of giving in deeds of what they call in deeds of beneficence. That's why we call saints. Mother Teresa, right? God bless her soul. Mother Teresa goes into India in the worst place in the world. Dirt, filth, decay, deterioration, death, horrible ugliness, and you name it. And she's there, loving them, loving these people. No one else would dare love them, right? Bringing them the love. Making them feel worthwhile. Yeah. What a blessing. What a blessing. That's the power of the saint, because they're risen to the level of, like my teacher says, if you want to feed the hungry, you got to forget about your own hunger. If you want to be a servant, and that's what we are, you got to forget about your own stuff. And it ain't easy. Free will and choice. This is really important. This is really important. I don't know how the divine has done this, but we all have a freedom of choice. We can choose how we wish to be. There came a time in my life early on, I don't know why this happened, it was really interesting, that I realized that I had a choice of what the kind of person I wanted to be. And I would say to myself, well, what do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be? So it obviously came to me, I want to be good, I want to be a nice guy, I want to be kind, I want to be sincere, I want to be honest, I want to be strong, right? That's what I want. That's what you want. But I did it consciously. Some of us do it consciously. But you got to make a choice. And the choice is ours. We don't have to do that. The choice is open. We can be who we wish to be, really. Some people don't understand that and don't realize that. They think they are their conditioning. They think they are who they think they are. They think because they were born in the ghetto, they have to be in the ghetto. People who are born in here rich think they're rich. You take the palace away from the king. What is he? We can choose who we want to be, and that's power. It's a very strong power. Choose to be what we want. It's incredible. And so I think we as individuals, as human beings, we need to come to that place. What kind of person do you want to be? And you have that free choice. So you don't want to choose this path. That's okay. And really, it's okay. I respect that. I have to respect that. Free human being. How we have that freedom of choice, I don't know. Some part of it I understand, because if we didn't have it, it would be like an end game. It would be nothing. If there was no free will, I don't know, we'd be up in the angels, right? We'd be like, playing harps. Yeah, I don't know, what would we be doing? It wouldn't be life. Free will makes life what it is. And it's terrible and it's wonderful. And it's all those things. It's incredible because of free will. And you take that away, we wouldn't have life. It would be something else. Awakening to love. That is really important. We need to wake up and continue to awaken. A lot of us are asleep. Not here. I'm not talking to you. You're not asleep. You wouldn't be here if you were asleep, right? You're nuts enough to come to this. You're plenty awake. You're crazy, but you're plenty awake. Yeah. So you're awake. But there's a lot of people sleeping out there. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know where they're going. They don't know how important love is. They're like walking around. Well, life is distraction. It's all distraction. And the more and more, we have more and more distraction. Now people are walking around with these music things in their ears. Well, they're not living. I don't know what they're doing out there. They got music in their ears. And they're like, they can't hear anything else. It's okay. That's the way life is. But The distraction, movies and television, it's all distraction. And it could take you away and get you lost, all this distraction. And you can go through life just being distracted. And a lot of us do that. We become drug addicts, we get into football, and football becomes our life, and there's all kinds of distraction, which is wonderful and terrible, right? Because it's all nice, it's all great, it's all here for our use. But we abuse it, and we forget, we get lost. We don't remember what's this all about. There's a reason, there's a purpose. I have a purpose here, don't I? What is my real purpose? What is my real reason for being? So we need to awaken. And as in that evolution, that's awakening. That's what happens. We awaken. As a child of 2, we don't think of work. We don't think of sex. We don't think of a lot of things, right? It's not part of our need to do that. We slowly awaken to the realization, about sex. We slowly, we're going to get married or whatever. We're going to, we have to earn a living, and, we're going to die, and all these things become, we awaken to these things slowly through our life. I had an awakening experience. That's what it's called. Suddenly I realized who I was. Very important. And that's part of my job, is to awaken. That's what I wish to do, to try to awaken people to the importance of loving, of love, and to them, and to the role they have in this scheme of things, because we all have a very vital, important role. We're all needed. We're all grossly important. This is Rumi. He's right in the 13th century. This is really interesting. Rock, plant, animal. He's talking about evolution. Rock, that's what we become. We were first rocks, we were plant, animal. 13th century, before Huxley, before theories of evolution. Rock, plant, animal, to each I have died, and become more. When have I become less by dying? Now I am man. When I die, I will soar with angels. And when I die to the angels, what I shall become, you cannot imagine. From dead, stinking semen, love formed you. It was love that dragged you howling, right? Howling. Babies crying, howling. From the blood drinker's womb to the nursemaid's breast, and from breast milk to roast meat and wine and the nursemaid's beauty. It is love that drags this embryo soul out of the body and into paradise. Walking the path. That's the whole trip. That's the path. How do you walk the path? We talked about the path in a way. And there's a lot, you can describe the path a lot in much greater detail than I have described it in terms of that. But let's see about walking, what I consider some of the necessities of walking the path. First of all, you have to love someone. You have to have loved someone or something before you can walk this path. As service people, as people who are social workers, psychologists, whatever, we're wanting to help people. And we have this sense that we want to love everybody. You know what I mean? We want to love the world. And that's really a nice sentiment, beautiful sentiment. But if you haven't loved one person, forget it. You can't love any, you got to start with one. Because that one person, that love for that one being, can be generalized to all of love, you see. So you got to love one person if you want to walk this path. So that's why marriage or relationship is very, very vital. To have a loving relationship. So without that, you can't walk the path. There was a story about someone who wanted to walk the path and I want to love and all that. Well, and the teacher said, well, have you loved anyone? No, I don't think I really have loved anyone. Well, then, before you walk the path, come back when you've loved someone. And then we can talk about walking the path. And I think we all have loved someone, but I thought that was important to talk about. Making a commitment. It came to me a while ago, and it comes to all of us, I think, consciously, but how do you want to be? What do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be? I think it's a vital question. It's very important, because it's in our hands to be who we wish to be. It's in our hands. We have a lot to do with it. Circumstances come and go. I mean, we could be born there, raised by this, be born a Catholic, Buddhist, whatever. We have our cultural crest that's in us, but all of that, forget that. That's just your circumstances. That's not you, it's just the circumstances. And everybody's born in different circumstances, right? But there comes a time when you can realize, you say, okay, I was born here, I learned this, I believe this, I have believed this, I was taught that, but what do I think? What do I really believe? You see, the journey of Adam the father, let's say, of Adam the first man, is the journey of every being. We all have to be Adam, so to speak, or Eve, however way you wish to put it. We all have to recapitulate within ourselves the journey. We start where we are and we journey. In fact, it's done physically. In our embryo, we're a fish for a while. We go through in our actually ontology. And there's an expression in biology which I love. Ontology recapitulates phylogeny. Ontology, the individual physical growth of the individual, recapitulates the phylogeny of evolution. From the rock to the animal to the human, and so on. And that's what happens. And we have within it, we're the microcosm of the macrocosm. Our water in us is the sea, that's what our water is. Our blood is made of the ocean. So we do that. So each one of us must find the truth for themselves. Right? We can't get it from anybody. We can go to school and learn a bunch of stuff. And I'm not sure what school is all about, period. I think it's good to learn how to read and write. Besides that, forget it. It's okay. I didn't learn much. Think back of it. How much did I learn, really? What did I really learn in school about life? What did I really learn that I couldn't get from a book? I learned to read and write. That was great. The real learning comes after school. We have to do it ourselves. We can't be told. And that's what the problem with some religious kind of stuff, because they put it on you, you know what I mean? They put it on you, and you're said to believe that. You're asked to take it fiat. This is it. You believe it. You can't do it. You can do it, but you're kidding yourself. You've got to find the truth for yourself. That's the journey of each of us. We have to find the truth ourselves. So you must make a commitment. You must make the commitment. What do I want to be? How do I want to be? What is real? What is true for me? You cannot learn it from a book. You've got to discover it yourself. And each of us thus recapitulates not only our physical phylogeny, but the understanding of the universe. Yeah? It's wonderful to be able to read books. It's wonderful because they point the way. They point here, they point there. They enable you to get excited. They motivate you. They inspire you, blah, 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 blah. They're great. But the truth is not in books. It can't be in books. You can't put it in a book. You can try if you want. People try, but you can't do it. It's beyond words. That's reality. It's beyond words. The truth and reality is beyond words. Words are abstractions, right? They're descriptions. They're made-up stuff about what things are. They don't say anything about the things themselves. They really don't. Some words, they call them sacred words, tend to, but these are lost in antiquity for the most part. And our words are just abstractions. They're not reality. They're words. They're made-up stuff. They're concepts. And we need to make a commitment. Why? Because it's difficult. It's a difficult path. If you choose to be a lover, if you choose to be a servant, if you choose to be a kind person, and what else would you want to choose? I want to be a bank robber. I want to be a killer. Now, people don't choose those things. Most everyone wants to be a decent person. Right? Most everyone wants to be a kind, decent person, good person. There's some strange beings that may want otherwise, but most of us want to be good, want to be loved, want to be, care for others. It's just built into us, I think. But you need to make that commitment to do that. You need to make a commitment, because what that commitment does is when you're not being who you wish to be, you take yourself in hand. When you make the commitment to be a lover and you're not being loving, you say, I'm not being what I really wish to be. I'm not doing what I really want to do, what I need to do. I'm not acting in my best nature. And that's why the commitment is important, just as the commitment to marriage. Without the commitment, you're going to falter. You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. That's why most spiritual disciplines demand a commitment of some kind. In Sufism, it's really fun. There was no commitment until I discovered the great commitment that it was. There's everything is so easy going, da-da-da, da-da-da. Then I find out that the untold stuff was so demanding and that it was incredible. It was like, if I would have known how much of a commitment it really was, I probably wouldn't have started it. And when you become initiated, like in the Sufi order, that's what the commitment is. That's the initiation. It's an initiation, and every spiritual order has a kind of initiation. And that's why they sometimes, in Sufism, they give different names. They give spiritual names to people. I have a spiritual name, too. But actually, my name I gave to myself. I was not born with Adam. I was born with the J. Jack is my real name. I changed my name after I had these experiences because I sensed, how do I say it? I sensed that I always was. I had the sense that I've always been, in some form or another, I've always been here. I've always been alive. I've always been here ever since time immemorial. And I will always be. And that was the realization that I had. So I gave myself the name Adam. So it takes courage because you get hurt. The slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, you name it. There's betrayal. There's a lot of that in our world. Our love is not seen as value. And it just, and how do we go on? How do we go on from there? And it takes courage. Taking oneself in hand. It's a very, very important aspect. We got to, if you're going to walk the path, you got to take yourself in hand and say, okay, what do I got to cut out? What do I got to cut out? What do I got to stop? What do I got to learn? What do I got to do? You got to take yourself in hand. No one else can do it for you. No one else. That's why teachers are wonderful, but no one can do it for you. Your teacher cannot do it for you. No matter how wise and how wonderful and how beautiful your teacher or your guru or whatever, you got to do it yourself. That's the law of the land. And it's a good law. It's a great law for many various reasons, and I'm sure you understand that. You got to take yourself in hand. You got to do it. No one else can do it for you. And it's wonderful. Wish my teacher could just enlighten me. Tap me on the head and, boom, I'm enlightened, right? Don't work that way. You got to take yourself in hand. You got to be their master. And that's part of the path of heart is the path of mastery. And that's why it brings you all this power, because you become a master. Why? Because you got to take yourself in hand. Everything that you think is deleterious to that path, you've got to cut out. If you're an angry person, you got to, hey, okay, stop being angry. What are you angry for? You got to look at that. What is it that's anger? Or you're impatient. What is this impatience about? If you're not accepting, if you're intolerant, gee, look at my intolerance. You got to look at that, and it's hard. It's difficult. That's why people don't like this. They don't want to walk this, because we don't like to admit that we are limited, that we have character defects. But what they mean is prune the ugliness. Prune the thorns. That's the crucifixion. That's what we take as a crucifixion. We got to prune those things, aspects of ourselves that we think are most dear to us. They're not. We just think they are. They're the false self. But we think they're the real self. So it's like, I don't want to, I want to get angry, and it's darn, I have a right to get angry. Now, I'm not saying anger is wrong, okay? It's being angry all the time that's the problem, or getting angry a lot, or hurting people with your anger, and so on and so forth. Anger is a power. It can be used. Everything is good. There's nothing bad in God's world. It's just how you use it that makes it good or bad. It's the intention, not the action. We go in our life, in our world, it's the action that is judged. Sufi judges the intention. It's like the mother slapping the child, oh, that's terrible, you can't hit your child, blah, 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 blah. But her intention was to correct the child, and rightly so. Purifying, healing, and nourishing the heart. Walking the path. Okay, this is the path of heart. So you got to take care of this. One of our friends who works the camera asked me about, indifference, and about the Eastern's teaching of indifference. everybody's all involved in interest, and isn't indifference good, to be just indifferent to maybe the slings and arrows that come at you? And I said, yeah, indifference is good. In fact, I should have it down there. Indifference is a tool of the mystics. Mystics learn both interest, because without interest, you won't do anything. If you're not interested in anything, you don't do anything, and we need to accomplish. So we need our interest to move us toward accomplishment and achievement. That's one of the paths of life. It's very important. But we also need indifference. Not to be bothered, not to care, not to be, affected. You don't let it to come in here. Someone throws a sling, throws a rock at you, you just deflect it and you walk on. You don't take it seriously. You don't take it inside you. Someone says some nasty words to you, okay, it's just words, right? You learn indifference, and it's a mystical, it's all the polarities, right? We need to learn both the polarities. All of them, not just one. We become one-sided if we only learn one. So interest is important, but indifference is important either. Too, and it's not easy. It's a difficult thing to learn. But you can learn it. You can become indifferent. And that's a protection to the heart. Because you don't want to hurt your heart. You don't want to let anyone hurt your heart. It happens anyway. It happens and you can't stop it. Well, it's just okay, because you need it to be broken too. You need your heart to, in order to expand, it's got to break. That's why pain is vital in life. Pain is important. Why? Because pain opens the heart. I know this, we don't like to hear this, but it's true. Pain opens the heart. It breaks the congestion. People have rocks over their heart. They have shells over their hearts. Nothing can get through, not even a loving person. And God does it how? He gives you a smack in the head, Like my friend. He gives me a pop. I call it a Zen smack, Get it together, Adam. Stop this nonsense. And sometimes we need a smack, and it hurts. But it's for our own good. Like our parent who punishes us. We need it. It's good for us. We don't like, but we learn later that that punishment was helpful. That if mom allowed us to continue on that path, we'd be a stupid person or a criminal or crazy or whatever. Ignorant. So we need that, and we need pain. Now, the pain, it's important we don't get burnt. We want to burn, but not get burnt. Some people get burned, and that's tragic, but that happens also. So it's okay to get burned. It's okay to break the heart, and sometimes, for most of us, that pain can be helpful. And that's why another reason why the path is not easy, because it's going to come. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get crucified. You're going to get some pain. Whether it's a disease or, a betrayal or what have you, you're going to have your pain. And without it, you can't be a human being. And how can you help anyone if you have not experienced pain? How can you help people in pain if you don't know how to deal with your own pain? And if you've not had any pain, you can't be a helper. Get away from me. How are you going to help? Really, how are you going to know? How are you going to be sympathetic? You need to purify and heal the heart. One is first to protect it. And what protects it? Indifference, wisdom, your understanding. It's like Christ said, they know not what they're doing, right? That was his protection. He was abused, right? Look what they did to him, the poor guy. And the way he protected his heart, not his physical body, he couldn't protect that. He could protect his heart by saying, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. If they knew better, they wouldn't act that way. And that's a wonderful little tool that we could all use. When people get down on us or say or are nasty to us or whatever, our kids, we say, yeah, well, that's okay. Let's forgive them. They don't mean that. If they really knew what they were doing, they wouldn't do that. So that's a protection. It's our wisdom, our understanding. And so we need to understand human nature. The Sufis' path is one of truth, right? So one of the things they really want to learn is human being, human behavior, human understanding. Why people are the way they are. Why people are nasty. And there's reasons. Most of it comes from fear. Yeah, most of it comes from fear. We hate what we don't know. Really. And we abuse those that we don't understand. That's why love provides understanding. You see? And then we can accept people. We can tolerate. Because love produces understanding. Huh? Yeah, we kill what we don't understand. We do that constantly. And always think about that. But we need to purify the heart and keep it clean. And so under our understanding, our wisdom, our indifference, there's all kinds of aspects to protecting the heart because it's fragile in a way. It'll heal itself. My teacher wrote a poem. He said, my heart has died 1,000 times, and yet due to love it liveth yet. Right? My heart hath died 1,000 times, but due to love it liveth yet. So love is the stream that heals your heart. So you get hurt, you continue to love, you'll heal. See? Now, how many times, I had this terrible tragedy with my relatives and stuff that broke my heart. It broke my heart. And here I am. Here I am, stronger, better for it. Stronger and better. But there's other things. Right? You want to reduce your negativity. You want to reduce your negative emotion, your hostility, your anger, your resentment. You don't want to carry that around. Like I said, it's all right to be angry. It's all right to be sad. It's all right to be depressed. It's all of these are okay. All the emotions, that's what makes life. It's all that color of emotion. It's wonderful. You just don't want to hold on to it. You don't want to live that. You want to have it and let it go. Move on. Because, and you can't hold on to emotions anyway. They can... you're happy, you're sad, it's constant changes. You're not your emotions, and you don't want to hold on to some of these, especially these bad ones, like resentment and bitterness, right? Some older people get bitter. They get bitter. And they're hard to deal with. Bitter people are difficult to deal with. Love will break through that bitterness, by the way. You keep on loving them when they're bitter, they'll get confused. See? They'll get terribly confused. How can you still like me and love me, and I'm like this way, you know what I mean? Because they want to be loved, but they've been hurt. They've been hurt, and they've kept that hurt inside them, and they're full of resentment and bitterness and anger, and so they give it out to those who love them, because those who love them can take it, which is real. Usually we give it out to the ones we love, right? That's who gets it. My wife got my shit, all my junk she gets, of course. You can't love us. It's harder to hate a stranger because they may hurt you or hit you or not like you or something. But so you can do it to your friend or your lover. But we need to let go of that. We need to purify our heart. That's one of the ways of purifying. And forgiveness is the purifier for that stuff. Forgiveness. That's the power we have in our hands. Power in our hands. Power, forgiveness. It's incredible power to forgive. We can do that. We could say, I'm going to let go of this stuff. I'm going to forgive that person. Whether they're worthy of it or not, it doesn't matter. What it does to you is what is important. And if you can ask forgiveness, if you can ask for forgiveness, that's another beautiful thing to do. I hurt you. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. And the Sufis and all the traditions have exercises to deal with. Kyrie eleison, Christe eleison, Kyrie eleison. Please forgive me. Heal me, forgive me, have mercy upon me. You ask forgiveness. Because we make mistakes and we do things we're not aware of. So the Sufis always saying, well, even if I don't know the mistakes and the terrible things or the hurt that I've done, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to take out some insurance. I'm going to make sure that I ask for forgiveness, that I am forgiven. And it is forgiving oneself that one is forgiven, too. We need to forgive oneself. Practice loving on a daily basis. This is the way to walk the path. You practice it. It's like a practice, like the Buddhists practice compassion. They'll go, they'll walk around and they'll say to themselves under their breath, compassion. 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 And wherever they go and wherever they do, they try to act compassionately. It's an act, in a way. It's not the real thing, it's an act. But that's how you learn it. You practice. You practice being kind. You practice being loving. Yes?
There's that saying, act as if.
Act as if, yes.
That's right.
Very good. Yes, exactly. Act as if. And what happens is acting as if becomes it. After a while, it becomes not an act. So I tell people who are down or having problems, smile. Smile. Just smile, because what happens is physiologically, once you begin smiling, it sends these impulses into your brain, and the smiling becomes real after a while, short time, because you can't help it. In fact, you start laughing. So you smile, and smiling is power. It's power. Your smile to the clerk, or to the person who's waiting on you, or to the caregiver, or to the food attendant, smiling is something beautiful. No, it's something beautiful that we can give. Doesn't cost us much. Doesn't cost us much at all. We can smile. We can practice love. Practice being tender. Practice being kind to everyone. So can you imagine walking through the day being this way? It's wonderful. So you have a good time. And what are you doing? You're spreading good stuff. You're spreading love. Remember, bad stuff spreads. Bad stuff spreads and influences and spreads. Good stuff does too. Good stuff spreads. So the more your goodness comes out, the more your kindness, the more your lovingness comes out, the more that spreads. I mean, you can light up, someone's life with just a smile. That's why I say, no matter how old you are, you can be loving. No matter what condition you are in your life, you can be loving. You can be kind. Certainly. It's your choice. That's the issue. It's your choice. People don't think so. I'm angry. Well, you don't have to be angry. You really don't. Oh, yes, I'm angry. Well, a lot of people don't realize that they think they are their emotions. They think they are their emotions. No, you're not your emotions. I mean, they're an aspect of your being, but they're not you, really, because they change. That's why they say seek the kingdom of God, because that's the only thing you can hold on to. That's the only thing that's unchangeable. Everything else changes. Everything. Like the body, like people hold on to their bodies. In this day and age, we got this fetish, and I see a lot of older people doing that too. I mean, it's okay I'm not saying you shouldn't maintain, but they get into this whole body thing, like they want to be a young body, and especially in Sausalito, they've got the wealth to do it. You know what I mean? They can go to the barber, and they can go to the masseur, and they can go here, and they can go there, and then buy the right clothes, and they all look like, it's amazing. They all look like Hollywood stars, But there's too much with the body. Too much. You're not your body. That's just an aspect, and that's going to change. It changes all the time. It's going to wear down, and you're going to have to throw it away one of these days. And what the problem, of course, with that is, we have a body image. We have a body image of what we think we should look like. And there's this body image, and Hollywood helps a lot to create this image of beauty for us. And so we have this standard that we try to maintain, and that's crazy. It literally is crazy, but that's our cultural madness. We have a lot of madness in our society, in our culture. One of it is this whole beauty thing. A woman has to be, big busted and, no waist and nice hips, and a man's got to have muscles. And now men are shaving their chests. I love this one. Boy, it take me a long time to do that. Shaving their chest and their legs. Really, it's crazy. Why? They have this body image, but you can create that. You can try to maintain that, but it's like, don't put your, Don't put your money where it can come to dust and stuff, and it's all going to be dust. But I'm not saying don't maintain it, don't take care of yourself, eat properly, get rest and all that. But you got to let that go. You got to, accept your body as changing. It's okay. It really is okay. It's natural. It's going to happen. I don't care how many plastic surgeons you have. You're going to lose it, man. Positive attitude development. That's the kind, I give a lecture on attitude development. It's very, very important. Attitude is like 90% of life and 10% is everything else. Attitude is about 90%. Your attitude defines your life, your attitude. If you have a loving attitude, if you want to be a loving being and take on that commitment, you create the life you will have through your attitude. It's powerful. It's creative. It's literally creative. And you can not only transform situations by your attitude, but you create the life you live by your attitude. People don't realize that. If you look for the good, you'll see good. If you look for the bad, you'll see bad. Now, what do you want to look for? What do you want to have in your life? Good or bad? You want to look for horror? There's enough out there, right? You want to look for beauty? Wow. It's there. It's there. You just got up and look up in the sky. I mean, it's there. Where do your eyes want it? It's not that you deny the other stuff. My teacher deals with it in a very interesting manner. I'm not sure I understand it fully, but it's almost like you see it, but you don't. You see it, but you don't let it influence you. Attitude development, most important. And it's what we're talking about now with this whole path of love is really attitude. It's really attitude. It's a loving attitude. And you can develop that in yourself. And by doing that, you create the world you live in. You create. I wrote a piece someone asked Einstein a question, is life friendly or not? Is life a friendly place? Because of all the things that happen. I don't know what he said. I can't remember it, to be honest with you. But when I read it, I said, well, let me turn the question on its head. Am I friendly? Because if I'm a friendly person, if I choose to be friendly, then I make life friendly by one, right? So if we want a friendly world, we create it. My teacher says heaven and you know what heaven and hell is? Our own thoughts. That's what heaven and that's what hell is. You have good thoughts, you live in heaven. You got bad thoughts, you live in hell. And that's it. That's heaven and hell for my teacher. And I agree with that 100-fold. We create our heaven within us by our own thoughts and beliefs and attitudes. And it is heaven. I discovered that, by the way. Heaven, there may be a heaven up there. I don't know. I'm not there yet. But there is heaven here. This is heaven. Or hell, depending upon how we make it. I see it as heaven. I look out. I remember one day going to work, and the sky just took me up to it, and it was so beautiful that I felt I was living in paradise. And I am. This is the Garden of Eden. It really is. This, right here, this is the Garden of Eden. It's not somewhere else. You don't have to travel far to go to heaven or hell. It's really a very short trip in here. In here. That's where it lies. That's for me. We create it. And the more we create heaven, the more it will be that heaven right here on earth. And you can create it in your family, and you can create it in your relationships, and you can create it in your organizations. All right, so optimism with open eyes, though. Like I say, you want to see what's there. You want to not be stupid and ignorant. You want to see. You want to see, if there's a lion out there, you don't want to, jump in the lion and say, oh, I love the lion. Lions eat people. You want to stay away from the lion. You want to be, optimistic and good and loving. There's a story about, what was he? This one student was learning from his teacher about compassion and God is everything and God is love and God is everything and all that. And he was like saying this to himself, and he was walking down the street and someone's running toward him and saying, watch out, there's an elephant coming. And he says, well, God is everything. Well, God's the elephant. I'm going to keep on walking. And another person comes running. Several people, they get out of the way. The elephant is coming. And people are yelling and stuff. And he's saying, well, it's all God. And the elephant's coming. Boom, he gets trampled, And he goes to his teacher and says, you told me God is everything. And, God is one. We're all one. And here it is. I got trampled by the elephant. And the teacher says, well, did you listen to God when he told you to get out of the way? You want to be optimistic with open eyes. You don't want to put yourself in a line. You want to they say in the East, they'd say, tie your camel. Tie your camel. You got to tie your camel. The camel might wander away. You want to say, I have such faith that the camel is going to stay here. No, you have to tie your camel up, man. He may run away. That's like people with some of the religions, and I don't want to criticize. I don't need medicine. I don't need this. I'm going to be, it's all faith and all that. But God works through the medicine. What do you think the medicine is? Where do you think that comes from? No, I have faith in God. And I don't want to make fun of people, but, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, the medicine is God. The doctors are God. Who do you think is the doctor? There's only one thing, you know. What do you think the doctor is? Whatever. Oh, I'm going to heal by just whatever. This also includes growing in trust and faith and belief in oneself. Very important to believe in oneself. Can't believe. If you want others to believe in you, boy, believe in yourself first. If you want others to trust you, trust yourself. You can't expect people to trust you if you don't trust yourself, or believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. So it's very important for us to have faith and trust in ourselves. In fact, faith, you know what faith is on the psychological level? Faith is self-confidence. Really. Faith is self-confidence. It's the realization that everything is fine. I'm going to deal with whatever comes down the pike. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be fine. Whatever. God's there. I'm going to be protected. But it's self-confidence. It's a sense that I'm okay. And I have the power and the strength to deal with things. You know? And believe that, things get better. That's that attitude, that loving attitude. Is, things are going to even be better tomorrow. Things are going to be better tomorrow. And all my desires and all the things that I want are coming to me. Why? Because I deserve it. I deserve everything that I wish, because God, in his loving, has given us everything. There is no lack of anything. Hear me? There's no lack of success. Like everybody, only some people can be successful and others. There's no lack to achievement. We can all achieve. We can all be wealthy, for example. A lot of people are pushing that, with this money stuff. It's really interesting. But it's true. You can be wealthy. Not necessarily you will be, but you can be, and who knows? It's available. There's no limitations to success, to wealth, to wonderful things happening to you, to a good house, to a good marriage, to all of that. All of that. It should be ours. Why not? It's the kingdom of God. Why shouldn't we have all that to us? And we need to believe in that all the good stuff in the world is coming to us every day. And it happens because we create it through our beliefs, through our intentions, and through our thoughts. There's a whole field of psychology now involved in that. You can create your life. You got all these advertisements about that stuff. Loving oneself. Learning to love oneself as a caregiver is as essential to wholeness as growth as is encouraging a client resident to love themselves. It is imperative to feel good about oneself, one's true self. No one is perfect, and all have their problems and character defects. Forgiveness, patience, kindness, trust, all those droplets of love you would give to others must also be given to oneself. Although you might wish to be a little more hard on yourself. I add that caveat. Than on others. Harder on yourself. But, you need to forgive yourself. I went through a period of where I was unworthy. I played this unworthy game. I couldn't forgive myself for actions that I had some actions that I had taken. And for years I held on to this. It was easy for me to forgive others. But I couldn't forgive myself. And then I realized I was just being an egotistical maniac, That not forgiving myself I was just so unworthy. I was like this drama queen. I'm so unworthy. And it was a game my ego was playing. And finally I said, let it go. Let it go. I'm sure God forgives me. I paid my dues too. I paid my dues, really, for those acts. And I asked for forgiveness. And have done my time, let's say. And we need to forgive ourselves. And we carry around guilt and burdens that we don't need. We need to forgive ourselves. And ask for forgiveness, too, as well. Yeah? That's very necessary. Again, it's part of purifying the heart, part of walking the path, loving oneself. I like it better, acceptance of self. Loving sounds too narcissistic, kind of. So I like acceptance, but it is loving because acceptance is loving. You embrace some form, saying, I am this. By God, you are not this or that or the other. You are unique one, heart ravishing. You are throne and palace and king. You are bird and snare and fowler. Like water in jar and river are in essence the same. You and spirit are the same. Your very idol, your every idol, prostrates before you. Your every thought form perishes in your formlessness. Unique one, heart ravishing. That's his sense of each one of us. Now, you don't love that, you've got problems. Because that's what you are. There is no one like you. No one. And there never will be again anyone like you. That realization alone is enough to say, wow. With all my faults and all my craziness, wow, there's no one like me. No. You are unique one. Heart ravishing. Heart ravishing. You ought to say that in front of, you ought to get people, people have hard times, set them in front of a mirror and have them repeat that phrase. I am unique one, heart ravishing. Until they believe it. Practice the art of friendship. Like I said about being a friend with the Einstein story, be a friend, practice friendship. It's great. People complain, as a therapist, I would get people, oh, no one loves me. I don't have any friends, I can't love anyone. I said, do you love anyone? Are you a friend to anyone? You see what the trick is? Be a friend. You'll get friends. Be a friend. Learn what friendship is about. Be a friend to others. You'll have enough friends you won't know what to do with. Really. If you are a friend to others. And you can do that. You can be that. You can practice that. Creating meaningful and supportive relationships is difficult for all. Difficult. And there's reasons for it. I give a lecture on interpersonal relations. It's a really good lecture about it because there are pitfalls. There's difficulties. And everyone, not just you, we all have difficulties with relationships. They're hard because we're like worlds, right? We're these worlds that meet, and we're all different, right? So it's like hard because we have different beliefs, different feelings, different ways, different. I look at my wife and I have fun about colors. We always see different colors. That's green. No, it's more bluish, isn't it? No, it's really greenish. We see things through our eyes. They're different. So those differences create difficulties. And especially if they're major differences, cultural, religious, they create even more difficulty. So it takes a lot to get along. It takes a loving heart. It takes tolerance. It takes forgiveness, And with a friend, and a real good friend even hides the faults of his friend. You hear that? A good friend even hides the faults of his friend. That's how we can take friendship to that level. And how wonderful that is. I love that. How wonderful that is. That's so beautiful. That you love this person so much that you're not even going to look at his faults. You're not going to make a big deal. You're not even going to look at them. You're not going to care about them. You're going to hide them from others and from yourself. Right? You only see the good in that friend. And friendship it's all in friendship. I mean, I could name this talk friendship. It all relates to that. It all relates to being a friend. And the path of the heart can be called the path of friendship as much as anything. Service to humanity. That's what I think we are. I think that's what you have chosen. You've chosen to serve humanity. And that's wonderful. And God bless you all for it. God bless you all. Believe me, you're wonderful. To do the job you do, to do the work you do, it's incredible. And that's what we're all about. Service. Let me read something about service from Hazrat Icon. Love lies in service. That's what we are. We're servants. And it's funny because the servant role is so powerful. It's like that indifference. See, if you're a servant, you don't expect anything, right? Whether they're good, bad, indifferent, how they react, doesn't matter. You're doing service. You're there to help them. You're there to love them. You're there to provide service to them. So whatever they act and so on, and it protects you because you're a servant. You don't expect anything. And if you don't have any expectations, no problem. That's one of the problems in life, expectations. You're to act this way to me, or else I don't like you, or whatever. Or, this is how you're supposed to express your love. This is the way I want it. Love lies in service. only that which is done not for fame or name, nor for the appreciation even, or thanks of those for whom it is done, is love's service. The lover shows kindness and beneficence to the beloved. He does whatever he can for the beloved in the way of help, service, sacrifice, kindness, or rescue, and hides it from the world and even from the beloved. If the beloved does anything for him, he exaggerates it, idealizes it, makes it into a mountain from a molehill. He takes poison from the hands of the beloved as sugar, and love's pain in the wound of his heart is his only joy. That's the mystic for you. Pain in the heart is his only joy, right? That's something to be understood. Huh? He takes poison from the hands of the beloved as sugar. It's like when God smacks you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, God. Not, oh, why did you do that to me? He takes poison from the hands of the beloved as sugar and loves pain in the wound of his heart as his only joy. By magnifying and idealizing whatever the beloved does for him, and by diminishing and forgetting whatever he himself does for the beloved, he first develops his own gratitude, which creates all goodness in life. Gratitude creates all goodness in life. The Sufi moral is this: love another and do not depend upon his love. Do good to another and do not depend upon receiving good from him. Serve another and do not look for service from him. All you do for another out of your love and kindness, you should think that you do not to that person, but to God. Huh? That's the trick. See, that's the secret and the trick. Because, this can be a nasty sucker, whatever you're dealing with, but you're loving God. You're loving God's creation. You're doing it for God. So forget about him. You're doing it even for God, for the divine in that being too. And as a person returns love for love, goodness for goodness, service for service, so much the better. And that happens too. If he does not return it, then pity him for what he loses. For his gain is much less than his loss. Do not look for thanks or appreciation for all the good you do to others, nor use it as a means to stimulate your vanity. We can get that's a trap. Do all that you consider good for the sake of goodness, not even for a return of that from God. Walking the path, the pitfalls, and there are many. There are many that are not listed here, I'm sure. But there are pitfalls. Love can hurt. We talk about this a lot. So love can hurt. The heart needs to be broken for it to expand, and pain makes one more alive. It really does. And like I said before, the children of sorrow are the bringers of joy. So a lot of us go through periods of sorrow and pain and hurt, but we can transform that and bring that and make that meaningful to us in terms of our understanding of life, our empathy with people who are in pain, and so on. Pain cracks us and opens us up. And for that we can be thankful, even though it hurts at times. So it's hurtful. So that's why people don't walk the path, because it can produce some pain. If you're going to be independent and you want your love to be strong and be able to stand on its own feet, you're going to have to take some stuff. It's not going to come back in the way you want it to come back necessarily. Your love, your caring, it can be ridiculed, it can be made fun of, it could be, all kinds of things can happen. And you have to maintain that good attitude and that sense of, okay, it's all right. Indifference helps. Not to let that enter your heart. They know not what they do. Forgive them. Forgive me for whatever. Maybe it was my fault that I didn't understand them. And that's why I'm being hurt or whatever. Could be I created the pain that I'm receiving. We don't think of it that way, but we can. Love demands sacrifice. It keeps on demanding. That's one of the I don't know if it's a pitfall, but it's just the reality. It's a problem, but it keeps on demanding. It never stops. You cannot stop loving. That's another clue to this situation is it's like water. Water, to be fresh, has to flow. Once it's backed up and stops, it gets brackish. And same with love. If you stop loving, if you say to yourself or unconsciously, I've loved enough, I'm going to stop this, you're going to go backwards. You're going to close your heart, and you're going to turn to iron, and you're going to sclerose and contract. It's got to keep on flowing, keep on opening. There's a man, I can't remember his name. I'm going to have to get his name because he's interesting. He talks about a circle of caring. You have a circle of caring. You have your friends and your colleagues and you have, whatever, your relatives and so on. What you want to do is push that circle, he says. You want to keep on expanding that caring circle. And my teacher talks about the heart being a universe. It can contain universes, not just universe, universes. It is large enough to contain everything. And the great saints and masters, the Jesus Christ, were able to love everyone. Even their enemies, right? Even those evil people or whatever they were, their enemies, the people that hurt them. They were able to love them and forgive them. The great saints and masters had that capacity because their heart was as big as an ocean. And your heart can encompass everything. You don't think it can? Well, it needs to be broken. If you expand, I can't love him. I can't do it. That's the trick. Okay, that's the test. All right, are you going to open up? They're going to say, let it open up, or not. It's your choice. And you can stop along the way, but you can't stop loving. It's a stream, and once you stop, it becomes brackish and turns into bitter water instead of the clear, pure water that you need. So it's a continual sacrifice, and some are great. Some can be major and really test one. Taking oneself too seriously, pride, our pride gets in the way, our impatience, we're talking about impatience, how this generation is even becoming more impatient because everything is a button, you push a button. You watch a TV series and there's a conflict and then it gets resolved in a half an hour. Everything is real short. You can put stuff in a microwave, you got a meal in a minute. So children in our age are not learning patience very much, and that's problematic for them. Impatience for them is going to be difficult. But what do you do? With email, now you're supposed to respond immediately. People email you, and you got to respond immediately. You say, well, wait a minute, So now we got the telephone, we got this, we got that, we got an email now, and it's like another responsibility. Laziness. I was a lazy, boy, was I a lazy bugger growing up. I used to sleep 12, 13 hours. That was my thing on Saturdays, to sleep till 12, 1 o'clock, A lot of kids do that, teenagers do that, But I was just lazy, And you can get into laziness. You got to pick yourself up, by your bootstraps and say, get going. Get it together. Come on, move, work, do, act. Come on. Life is here for you. And you can get really lazy and forget about things. The avoidance of pain and discomfort. What Freud said was very, very true. We tend to move toward pleasure and away from pain. But this path moves you toward pain. And it's going to move you toward pain and discomfort. And you have to embrace that and do that willingly. And that ain't easy. Oh, give it to me, no. Well, you don't say, give it to me, but, by walking the path, you're opening yourself up to hurt. You will, and it'll happen. It's going to happen. So you're opening yourself up to discomfort and pain. And it's a going against our natural instinct. That's the spirit. It goes against nature. It's like love, right? Commitment in marriage, you're going against kind of nature in a way, the natural order of things. You're going against it. It's beyond reason. This is not reasonable to go through and not realize that pain and discomfort is going to be yours. Over concern with self. The ego is the real enemy. Our real enemy, and we talk about evil or whatever, the real enemy is our own self. It really is. It's our own false self. It's that me, that wants to avoid pain and, wants comfort all the time, that looks for its own pleasure, that thinks of its own self first, always, that wants its own food, not caring about the food of others. It's that little I, me, I. And the more I's you have, someone once said, the more I have or I am stuff you have or I own, that's the furthest you're away from God. Make a list, of I want or I have, and the longer the list, that's the furthest you're away from the divine. It's that, they're talking about that ego, that self that only wants something for itself. It sees itself first, that gets in the line first, and wants to scramble up to get to there. It's false ego. There's the big ego, and that is God. It's the false ego. And sometimes it's hard to differentiate. It's over-concerned with self, its comforts, wants, and needs, primary. And you could see it in children, you could see it in adults, and it's ugly. It really is ugly. That me is ugly. And one way of telling it's the little ego because it's ugly. So you want to move toward beauty. And whatever is beautiful, that's what you want to move toward. And so when you feel something ugly, you know it's that little ego. It's not nice. It just wants itself. It wants for itself only. And it can be very tricky. In a lot of mystical paths, they call it the nafs, N-A-F-S. It's not important that you know that word. It represents the ego aspects, and there's like different levels of it. And the Buddhists talk about it, different kinds of ego problems, and they have a whole list of them, and it's amazing. So it's the battle, and that's the true enemy, and that's the real fight. The real fight is with oneself, not with others. In fact, fighting with oneself brings peace. Fighting with others brings war. You want to fight with yourself. And that's the jihad, by the way. For some, the Islamic persuasion, the real jihad is the self-jihad, the fight with oneself, with one's ego. And that's the mystical, that's the Islamic, a lot of believe that's where the jihad really is. Not out there, it's in here. It's a fight with our narrowness and me-ness. Other practices on the path of love. We talked about taking oneself in hand already, all right? That's very important, a very crucial step. If you don't do that, no one else is going to do it for you. You've got to do it yourself. You've got to take yourself in hand and say, okay, Adam, come on now. Come on. Get rid of that. Take care of that. Knock that off. Do that. And it takes time. Got to be patient with oneself. It takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, a lot of endurance. Spiritual community, very, very important, very vital. Because, it's difficult, so we need support. And where do we go? To our own brothers and sisters for support. Spiritual community, wherever you find it. In a church, in a synagogue, in a mosque, wherever you find it. It may not be there. It may be in a woman's group. It may be someplace else. Find it. Find a group that you can be with. Be supported. Be nurtured. Be nurtured. And it's great practice. Because they're your brothers and sisters, so you can talk to them about the truth, about your reality. You could say, hey, I don't know, I'm a little distraught. And where's God? And he's gone, he left me. Whatever, these things are happening to me and I don't understand it. And your friends and your other comrades that are walking on the path with you, while they may be in different places on that path, they can commiserate with you. Spiritual community, very vital. And we need to hug and touch each other. We should all, when we go visiting, we should take their hands. If we're sitting with someone, we should take their hands. Take the hand. That's a wonderful, what a gesture. Take the hand. Can I hold your, can I? You ask, of course. You ask, right? Can I hold your hand? Can I be with you and hold your hand? Wow, how powerful can that be? And just sit there and hold their hand. Anyone, dementia, whatever, they have hands usually and you can hold them. And it's just such a simple gesture. It's not something that's come from me. I get techniques, talk about techniques. Oh, I got to use all these techniques. I love these books with this. Techniques and methodology. And, and I'm like, well, I'm not me, But, it's a simple thing of holding someone's hand. What can that can do so much for someone. Breathing exercises. Good breath is life. Breath is life. That's why the mystics of all ages have taught breathing exercises. Breath is life. The more the breath, when you're inspiration, that's the breath. And it hits all parts of you. So one of the ways of purifying is using the breath. There's a countless number of breathing exercises that one can involve themselves in. A simple meditation that the Buddhists do is just watching the breath. Watching the breath. And as you watch the breath and focus on the breath, and that's it, just focus on the breath. Just watch it come in and out. And thoughts come, you get caught up, bring yourself back. Be nice to yourself, Just bring yourself back to no thought. Thoughts comes again, it's okay. You get caught up in it, bring yourself back. So we can become thoughtless. And just concentrate on your breath. So it's a great concentration exercise. It's a great breathing exercise because what happens is the breath naturally becomes more refined and deeper and more peaceful. And through the breath one heals. Through the breath one inspires one. Through the breath one really helps one develop. So breathing exercises, and there's all kinds. Prayer is communion. Prayer is real communion. Prayer is a conversation with the beloved. And it's beautiful. Prayer is beautiful, right? And it's just gorgeous. And people have written such beautiful prayers. I've memorized a whole bunch of, from my teacher, made some prayers. I've memorized them, most of them all. And they're wonderful. They're wonderful. They're wonderful. It's they're inspired things, and it's that communication. It's that communion. It's that being a friend of God. And nothing speaks louder than one's heart. And you're in your own words, too. You don't need the words of anyone else, really, to pray. And prayer is so beneficial to oneself, to give that time of quiet and peacefulness, and to remind yourself of what's real and what's good. Exercises with sound, and we did one. I'll give you some more, but another time. Exercise with sound. It's just a way of helping. It's a spiritual practice. You could sing. Even singing is wonderful, by the way. Joining a choir, especially a church choir, got to be great. We talk about meditation. There's one of the powerful meditations, and there's countless meditations. They come from all traditions, all kinds of meditations. A meditation that I would suggest to you is the meditation upon the ideal. Okay? And a meditation upon the ideal is really simple. You pick an ideal being, like Jesus or Buddha or Muhammad or whoever ideal that you have, and you meditate on their presence. You just see Jesus, you close your eyes, you get quiet, and you just concentrate on Jesus. And meditate on Jesus and the beauty of Jesus and the love of Jesus and his, and you just meditate on that. And it's a concentration, so it does a whole lot of things. Concentration is the first step in meditation, right? It's concentration, contemplation, then meditation. Those are the three stages. But concentration is very important. So if you concentrate on an image, that's even better, of Jesus. Whatever image you find available, a picture. You can even what I do sometimes, I just put the picture up, and I just look at it. I look at it. And then I could close my eyes and see it more clearly. And I look and I close my eyes. And what happens is, by concentrating on the ideal, what happens? What do you think happens? You become the ideal. Because it's what you identify with is what you become. You identify with Hitler, you become a Hitler. And people are doing that, by the way. There's some Nazi groups that identify with Hitler. So who you choose, you choose carefully, though. You don't want to choose just anyone. You want to choose someone who represents your ideal. Life is a love lesson. Life will teach you. Life teaches you. Life is your greatest teacher. You call it God, call it life. That's the greatest teacher. Every day is a lesson. Every day, if you're open to it. To me, life is school. Life is a school. It's a journey, but it's a school. Some people call it the school of hard knocks, Some people call it a school of journey, of spiritual journey. Some people call it a, school of love, whatever, but it's a school. We're here to learn. I thought, people think, oh, you get through high school, you get through, elementary school, you get through high school, you get through college. I'm through. No more. Thank God, no more school. Forget it, Charlie. School is every day. It's never out unless you stop it. You can stop it if you want. You can stop learning. That free will. You can stop learning, and people do. You may know of some of these people. They stop. They know everything. And remember, that's the secret of aging. Keep on trucking. Keep on learning. Keep on opening up this heart. Keep on. Don't stop. When you stop, that's when you start dying. And we see it in nursing homes. I see it amongst friends. I see it all over the place. People have stopped. And this is the power of the individual choice. And that's why I stress the knowledge of that choice. People can choose to stop when they want to. I may think it's wrong for them to do so, but hey, that's their choice, and I respect it. Because what you're doing is you're dying. Every time, for learning, remember, you're dying and being reborn. That's what learning is about. You're dying to something and being reborn. That's really what learning is all about. So that's why there's that anxiety in people, and it's hard. So people don't want to, they want to do it. Remember, I want to move toward pleasure. So learning is painful. I mean, you have to go to school, you got to study, you got to write a text, you got to listen to me. I mean, it's painful. It can be painful. Learning can be difficult, really. And it's a challenge. And some people after a while, some people just give up and stop learning. And that's when they stop living. For us, it's just wonderful that we can pick up a book from someone who wrote 500, 600 years ago or more. And there it is, and we have that available to us, especially in this modern age. It's incredible. How wonderful to have that. And especially now electronically, where you can't go to a website, you just push a button and get it. You don't have to go to a library, you have to go nowhere. It's right there, right in front. So reading and studying sacred texts is very vital. And I've read libraries. Expression, appreciation of the arts. What will help, arts were all sacred at one time. There was no not sacred art. There was music, dance, all of it was sacred, was spiritual. Why? Because, there's something in art that is spiritual. And we experience it when we, see a ballet and are enthralled and inspired by a ballet or a music recital or poetry that we've been reading today, for example. Whatever. It's all very, very meaningful. And in fact, it's important that we also express ourselves. Right? Expressing our own artisticness is important. We're all creative beings. We all have aspects of life where we are creative, and we need to be that. Our own creativity, by the way, is healing. Right? Our own creativity is inspiring. When I began writing poetry, the poetry was thrilling to me. Forget about what it may have done for somebody else. It may have been enjoyed by others. But to me, it was meaningful. It was incredible and a blessing to be able to write this stuff and to learn from it and to understand it and so on. And so we all need to be expressive. We all are creative. We are co-creators, right? Made in that image of God, we are co-creators. And we have a need to create. And our creativity is healing to us and to others as well. That's why, arts and crafts and, church choirs and all these things that we do in terms of the arts for people. There's a whole art therapy, right, where we use the arts for curing. There's a whole process of psychotherapy, which uses poetry. I don't know if I only learned this relatively recently, that there's a whole school of thought, which is wonderful. What they do is, instead of, like talking to you about your problems and stuff, we read poems. You pick poems, you read poems, you write some, we share that. What a wonderful thing. Can imagine being a therapist and saying, well, what poems did you bring today to our session? Maybe related to an issue that you're dealing with. I'm not sure how they work it, but it's fascinating. It's wonderful. And to write it as well, because it's so expressive. Our self-expression is very vital. This is my self-expression. This is my artistry, my creativity. This is how I do that, And so it's wonderful to be able to do that because I benefit from it. You know, I walk out of here, I'm high. You know, I walk out of here, I'm feeling great because I was able to express my creativity. And that automatically helps me, makes me grow, makes me develop, makes me feel good. And so we need to get into our creativity. It's a solace and a healing aspect to ourselves. There is but one duty, and I think this is really important, to learn how to love. Huh? There is but one happiness, to know how to love. That was from Teilhard de Chardin, a Christian mystic. Yeah, he died. He was in this century. Yeah, in this 20th century. He died relatively recently, I think. Yeah, an incredibly brilliant man. Wrote some wonderful stuff. But I was reading one of his books that he talks about love, and I found this quote, and I thought that just sums it up. You know, but one duty, to learn how to love. There's but one happiness, to know how to.